Vivo has been pushing the envelope on innovation for a while now, and with the new V15 Pro, they actually brought innovation down to the masses and, according to Ershad, democratized it in fact. Now this is the younger brother of the V15 Pro. This is the Vivo V15 and sells for 5,000 rupees less than the V15 Pro. And in this video, we're going to find out if it's really worth that price or you should just spend the few extra bucks and get the V15 Pro instead. So without any further ado, hey, this is Sreehari from Mr. Phone and let's jump right in. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do that and hit the bell icon right next to it so that you get notified for all the videos that we put out. Also, we have top 5 of our favorite products that we found on Amazon linked in the description below. So you can go ahead and check them out if you like. We'll add new products to every video if you like. Let us know what you think of the idea and let us know if you liked any of the products in the description below. Now the difference between the Vivo V15 Pro and the Vivo V15 is the difference between me 4 years ago and me now. It's fatter and lacks flair. The back design is different as well, and we have the violet and pink or magenta gradient with shimmer at the bottom part. Some people might like it, I don't. And I think shimmer is a big part of it. I think they could have done it without the shimmer, but whatever, that is the design of the Vivo V15. Structurally though, if you've held a Vivo V15 Pro, then the V15 just feels slightly thicker and slightly bigger because it is. That said, if you haven't, it feels like any other Vivo phone. It's tall, it's weighed quite well, and it doesn't feel cheap. The fingerprint scanner is placed perfectly and uses the technology that I prefer. And I understand that the in-display fingerprint scanner is all cool and all, but I'm not a big fan of it. And a big chunk of that is because I don't like front-facing fingerprint scanners. I have never liked them. And then the fact that it's an in-display fingerprint scanner, it's not as fast as the capacitive ones. It's not really my cup of tea. That said, even with all those good looks, it's still polycarbonate and the back isn't susceptible to scratches at all. It actually just takes away from the whole look of the device. If you can see, almost in all of our shots, the phone is quite scratched and it has not been manhandled at all. So this is a very delicate phone, but the good thing is that inside the box you do get a case, and a really good quality one at that. So I do suggest you to keep that case on if you want to keep your device pristine. Now if you come to the port situation, it's more or less the same. It still has a micro USB port. A headphone jack and a speaker grill. It's been placed a little bit differently than the Vivo V15 Pro that you can see on the screen right now. But those are the differences. The components pretty much look like the same and sound like the same. The speaker is loud but is not the best quality one and can also be easily muffled if you're holding a phone like this. That was similar case with the Vivo V15 Pro as well. The headphone jack performance is again quite standard as the one we got in the Vivo V15 Pro. That said, the one big change in the placements of the ports is that the SIM tray actually was located on the V15 Pro at the bottom of the phone, while this one actually carries that at the left side of the phone, right over the Google Assistant button. Now, coming to the buttons, power button, the volume rockers and the Google Assistant button, all of them stay in the same position as they did on the V15 Pro. That said, I am a big fan of the Google Assistant button. Having a dedicated button on the phone to invoke the thing that I used probably the most in my daily life, to set reminders, to add schedules to my calendar, each and everything, and the fact that I don't have to say okay Google or hey Google each and every time is a big thing, and I really love that you have a Google Assistant button on this. Now since it's a bezel-less Vivo phone, we have one more part to talk about, and that is the pop-up selfie camera. The pop-up mechanism actually works almost exactly like the V15 Pro, but weirdly enough, this one does not support face unlock while using that. Because we've used Vivo phones in the past that have pop-up selfie cameras, but none of them have been able to do face unlock. And the V15 Pro was actually the first one that we saw, that we reviewed, that had face unlock with the pop-up selfie camera. But that sadly seems to be missing from here. And I don't know why they did that. I don't think it's impossible now that they've figured out how to do it on the V15 Pro. I'm pretty sure that could have been replicated on the V15. They seem to be knowing something that we don't, clearly. The display is one of the most important parts of a smartphone and hence is rightly among the costliest parts as well. And this is where Vivo has done another compromise with the V15. So the V15 Pro sported a class-leading Samsung Super AMOLED display, and this one settles for an IPS LCD display. That said, it still achieves the notchless, almost bezel-less design with a slightly thicker bottom chin, but I don't think that is something that you'll notice right away. Coming to the quality of the panel itself, I'm quite impressed since I found no color shifts or light bleeds or any anomaly of that sort. A slight color shift is something we found with Vivo V15 Pro's display, primarily because of the tech, because AMOLED displays do have that characteristic, but this one being an LCD did not have that. Other than that, another thing that we noticed when we took both of these phones in direct sunlight is that even though this is an LCD display, which means that it has a backlight that can increase the brightness to a good level, the AMOLED display on the Vivo V15 Pro was actually much brighter. And there used to be a time when we used to do pros and cons with LCD and AMOLED displays. OLED displays had a disadvantage when it came to brightness because they did not use a backlight. But as we witnessed today, the AMOLED display on the V15 Pro and a lot of AMOLED displays actually have become much brighter, and Samsung is actually leading that race with doing amazing work with those panels. Now what's not cool is that even with this gorgeous display, the phone does not come with Widevine L1 certification. Now I don't know why they're doing that. They have these gorgeous seamless displays on the phone and they still don't want to provide Widevine L1 certification. Now let's see if that can be added through a software experience, because Poco was actually able to do that. So let's hope Vivo does that for these phones. With the Vivo V15, the fingerprint scanner goes back both in its position and the technology. Now, as I said before, the V15 has a capacitive fingerprint scanner, unlike the V15 Pro, which has an in-display fingerprint scanner, but I prefer this. And you of course lose epic bragging rights with the in-display fingerprint scanner, but I think this is more practical in daily life. Now, FunTouchOS, which is Vivo's fork on Android, is something that we've explored extensively in a lot of previous videos, including a recent one with the Vivo V15 Pro review that Aisha did. So you can go ahead and check that video, or even go and take a look at the article that we did in the description below, so you can get a detailed look at the software. But my opinion of the Chinese skin is still pretty much the same. I won't use it every day due to my personal bias towards stock Android looking skins, but that said, FunTouchOS has become much better looking and more utilitarian with time. Vivo has added India-centric features in settings like bike mode and dual apps. You also get some personalization with a few different clock and other widgets pre-installed. It also does this cool thing where it adapts app icon tones and colors according to the wallpaper, which adds an extra layer of flair to the look and feel. It does sometimes end up looking unattractive, but with the right wallpaper, the phone does look unique in its own way. In performance, it's quite fluid all the way through, and it certainly feels much more refined and finished than a lot of other Android skins out there. In short, if you are someone who's shifting from stock Android to shifting from some other OS, this might take some time and you might not even end up liking it. But if you are looking at this with a fresh set of eyes, then I think there is a lot to like with the Vivo's FunTouchOS. Now, the drop from Vivo V15 Pro to the Vivo V15 is quite significant because it's not only another chip, it also comes from a different company. V15 uses a MediaTek Helio P70 chipset compared to a Snapdragon 675 inside the V15 Pro. Now, I want to share the benchmark scores first. So the Antutu score is 147,104, which is lower than the Snapdragon 675, where the 675 scored somewhat around 170,000, but it's still higher than the Snapdragon 660 and also more than Samsung A50's Exynos 9610, which itself is quite a powerful chipset. The Geekbench scores are also pretty similar to this, but the 3D Mark scores are what surprised me. The GPU scores for the Helio P70 were actually higher than not just the 660 but also the 675. Yes, so the GPU scores, the 3D Mark scores of the Vivo V15 with the Helio P70 were higher than the Redmi Note 7 Pro 675 or even the V15 Pro 675. When I played games on this, the performance was quite similar. So basically what happened is that the lack in processing power was made up by the amazing GPU performance that the Helio P70 put out. Hence the performance with the 675 and the Helio P70 were pretty similar similar. That said, I think the 675 was much more optimized when we used it on the V15 Pro. Now, what all that means in real world usage is that you get a really good gaming performance with the Vivo V15, which is not very inferior to the Vivo V15 Pro. So when you consider the difference between the gaming performance of the V15 Pro and the V15, it's not a lot. And also daily usage is quite similar with the V15 and the V15 Pro. I did not find any differences in the fluidity, in app opening speeds. All of them were pretty similar. And also because the V15 Pro and the V15 both, although use eMMC 5.1 storage, both had very similar scores, so probably used the same module and had scores higher than 300 MB per second, which is probably why the app opening speeds were very similar, because that depends on the storage rather than the processing performance. Talking about call quality, I was quite skeptic at first because of the considerably thin earpiece cutout, but to my utter surprise, it sounded like any other good smartphone today. No call quality issues, an excellent microphone, as well as the background noise cancellation was also pretty good. The Vivo V15's camera array looks pretty similar to the V15 Pro's camera setup, and in specs it's not very different either. The standard sensor is clearly not a 48 megapixel one on this one. It loses half of the resolution and goes to a 24 megapixel lens. The rest of the lenses, the 8 megapixel ultra wide lens and the 5 megapixel depth sensor, are here to stay. Even the pop-up selfie camera is exactly the same. It's a 32 megapixel lens. Now, instead of showing you standalone shots, I actually want to show you a comparison with the V15 Pro, because that makes a lot of sense. First of all, it actually makes it easy for me to help you understand what the difference is and give you a perspective of how good the camera is compared to the competition. Now, as I said, both phones use the 32 megapixel sensor in the selfie camera, and hence that should be the area where the differences are the least, right? Now, the images don't look the same. There are minor software changes, but that for some reason seems less like errors and more like intentional choices. The face tones are slightly reddish on the V15 and the selfies have an over-sharpened look to them. I don't know if they're just testing the waters or in fact proving my theory that the V15 is just there to make the V15 Pro look more convincing. Now, that was for the front camera that apparently had the same hardware and software processing, so you can imagine what the back camera images look like in comparison. The V15 almost in all cases takes an inferior picture to the V15 Pro in dynamic range, colors, details, etc. The wide angle lens takes similar pictures, but the V15 is clearly not up to the mark for the asking price. Now, the V15 Pro in itself is not an exceptional camera, but it gets the job done and it compares fairly well to its competitors, which is the Redmi Note 7 Pro and the Samsung A50, if any. That sadly cannot be said for the V15, and those are also my final thoughts. It's a very good front camera with a lot of potential if the software is improved. The back cameras could be much better than they are right now. The V15 is slightly fatter by today's standards, but unlike me, it does have a plausible reason for it, and that is a bigger battery. You actually get 300 mAh more than the V15 Pro. Though that adds a bit of heft and might seem like a big number, that's not really an upgrade from the V15 Pro. The V15 Pro uses an AMOLED display that uses less power for darker surfaces, especially black interface elements or wallpapers, that in turn helps conserve a lot of battery. Since this display here is not AMOLED, the extra 300 mAh ends up making up for that and driving those few extra hours of battery life. Don't get me wrong, it's still phenomenal battery life, but just the fact that it has a bigger number on the spec sheet does not mean that it's an upgrade from the V15 Pro. Coming to the charging tech, it still boggles me why Vivo doesn't shift to USB-C for phones over 15,000. That said, Vivo's fast charging tech that's facilitated through the micro USB port is among my favorite ones in the market. I experienced Vivo's dual engine fast charging for the first time with the Vivo Nex, and I have been a fan ever since. It charges up really quickly, and also add to that the few battery saving modes that Vivo has put in. I think this makes for a very good battery experience. Now, I don't doubt that the V15 is yet another great product from Vivo, but for the price, it kind of seems more like a promotional propaganda for the V15 Pro. The V15 has almost all the goods that the V15 Pro provides. You have a pop-up selfie camera, you have the seamless design, you also have the triple camera at the back. But just for an extra 5,000 bucks, you get a Samsung Super AMOLED display, you get a boastable fingerprint scanner that's inside the display, you get a much better camera performance, and you overall get a phone that feels much more premium. And that is exactly probably what Vivo's attempt is with the Vivo V15. I'm not blaming anyone. This is the way a lot of products in this world have worked, and this is a very smart marketing strategy. But what I'm here to tell you is that if you're interested in the V15 because of the triple camera setup, of the pop-up camera, of the seamless display, then please spend the extra 5,000 if you can and get the Vivo V15 Pro. If not, if you have a tight budget that goes max to 23,000, then I would suggest you to buy a Samsung A50 if you want the visual flair, the premium experience and the great cameras. Or if you want a powerhouse, then eyes closed, get the Poco F1 and enjoy unlimited gaming on that phone. So with that, we come to an end of this video. Those were my final thoughts for the review of the Vivo V15. Please let me know what you thought of this review in the comment section below. Please let me know if you want to see a comparison of the V15 with any other phone in the comment section below. Also, we have a Hindi channel where we put out news twice every week. Go and check that. We'll have a link for that in the description below. And there are also 5 best Amazon deals that we found and we recommend in the description below. So you can go ahead and check that. We'll be doing that for every video. You'll find 5 new deals, 5 new products that we like listed in the description below. So you can go ahead and check that. Let us know in the comment section if you feel like that's a good idea. And let us know if you liked any of the products and if you bought them. So with that, we come to an end of this video. That's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. This is Sreehari from Mr. Phone, and I'll catch you in the next one.